The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position of ONTV's management, staff, or board of directors.
Detroit basketball.
Well, look who we have here. It's Views from the Sideline. In 2021, we're still here.
When was the last time we did this? Like 2019? Has it been like a year?
I don't know, maybe 10.
It's been forever.
Looking at it, though, the last time that we did this podcast was probably 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on in sports that we missed. So we're going to try our best to recover, just like the world is trying to recover in this global pandemic that just keeps going on and on and on. So let's get right to it.
Quick recap of everything.
Yeah, we're going to try
Literally
to
everything.
recap all the major seasons that happened while we were gone. College football ended. That's how long we've been gone.
A lot of people didn't even pay attention because they barely considered it a real season. Like some schools had fans at some games, some didn't.
Yeah.
The Pac-12, they didn't even really have it. They had like 5 games. Nobody really watched.
And I think people are just disappointed in general with the whole season. It was kind of a feeling out vibe of how sports were going to go.
If your team
throughout
had
the
a bad
winter.
season, you can just say it didn't count.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. That's an interesting segue. But in the national championship, Alabama, they did their thing. They fended off Ohio State.
Well, first in the
I don't know.
in the semifinal, Justin Fields just bombed on Clemson.
That's true.
Their DBs were just, it was like go routes and post routes all the game.
Yeah.
Justin Fields was just hitting dude in stride nonstop. It was a massacre.
Yeah. So
Trevor Lawrence did his best.
Justin Fields' draft stock has been all over the map because in that game it shot to the moon and then dropped back down in the national championship. He was a little bit banged up, but didn't look as good.
Honestly, there wasn't much he could have done because on the other side of the ball, when you have the Heisman winner, shouts out to the first wide receiver Heisman winner since Desmond Howard. First of all,
Yeah.
Incredible, ridiculous season from Devontae Smith, like 120 something catches, like 1,800 something receiving yards, over 20 touchdowns. It was stupid.
Yeah, they're gonna
Just
have
a stupid season.
and that team is gonna have multiple picks in the first round. So
2 receivers,
yeah,
one of them got hurt early in the season, which is
Mhm.
the even more ridiculous part.
yeah, and
Him and Jalen Waddle.
hats off to Alabama for winning. I still dislike you, but it's okay. It's whatever. It's a COVID year. Don't care.
Just like to Nick Saban.
I
I feel like you're gonna say the same thing about Brady when we get to that, but we're not there yet.
kind of, but not necessarily the same. That's basically college football, but we do have to let Malik get his feelings off his chest. He's been holding them for a long time, as we said. Malik, how did the U of M season go, and how are you feeling now?
So, I think that loss to Michigan State was
Set the tone.
It was one of the lowest moments of my Michigan football fan life. It led to things changing that needed to change.
Mhm.
That defensive coordinator that they had, that they called Dr. Blitz, his blitzes were getting old. He was just leaving. You can't just let every single corner, every type of corner play in a system where you just leave them on an island.
Yeah.
And Michigan State just threw it up to their receivers all game, and they won that way. It was a heartbreaker. It was terrible. Jim Harbaugh on the hot seat. Joe Milton not living up to expectations, even though his expectations shouldn't have been that high. He has a bunch of great talent, but first year starter, weird COVID year. Yeah. Disappointing season. They ended the season short. They didn't play the last 3 games. Thank God they didn't play Ohio State.
Yeah, a lot of people tried to say that they dodged the game.
Yeah.
We'll never know for sure, but
They avoided Iowa, they avoided Ohio State, they avoided Maryland. They didn't take any more L's.
yeah,
And I think that was a good decision.
yeah,
That led to them still finishing strong in recruiting, which was something they really needed once that season was over.
yep. They did well.
Yeah. And yeah, lowest of the lows. I seriously considered giving up on this whole Michigan football thing. I had to talk to some of my cousins, my uncle who played at Michigan. I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What is the point in doing this anymore? All of you have witnessed greatness. I've seen nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Been a football fan since 05. Michigan football fan since 05. Like watching games seriously. It's just been
You're literally
tears.
you're like our good pal Chris, you know. He joined the Pistons fan base.
Well, we saw some
Way too late.
We saw greatness.
Yeah, but Chris didn't necessarily. He wasn't a big fan back then.
Oh, that's just
He didn't
tragic.
really
Yeah.
get into the Pistons like
Until
hardcore till
the
he
sun-
was like 2007, 2008. He was on the way out.
Oh yeah, that's
So he kind of missed out that whole
But
2004 era.
There's still a difference because there are no teases of real good football with the sad boy era Pistons.
Yeah.
The Michigan teased and teased over the past 10 years. The 2016 team was a playoff team
Mm-hmm.
that fell apart down the stretch. Heartbreaking overtime loss to Ohio State. And ever since then, Jim Harbaugh lost his soul and the program has been completely broken.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to work their way back. They've reshuffled the coaching staff, a bunch of young guys, some coaching talent from this state. Brought back Mike Hart as the running back coach, new defensive coordinator from the Ravens, some new juice. They needed to reshuffle a lot. And Jim Harbaugh staying, it is what it is. I feel like the university is just terrified to let go of him because they don't know what to expect in the next search.
Yeah.
So at least there have been moves made around him, and there's some really good players coming in, one of the best recruiting classes.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope for the best at this point. No expectations ever again, ever.
Yeah.
When I say ever, I mean forever.
Mm-hmm.
No expectations on this program
Okay.
ever again.
Just remember,
Just hope for the best.
this is recorded, so
Just hope for the best.
if you ever have expectations, I'll bring it up.
If I get excited for a team, that doesn't mean I'm going to expect them to do incredible things. But
Yeah.
I just hope for the best at this point because they've shown me nothing.
Well,
Absolutely zero.
and the reason we're not talking about Michigan State is because they're literally nothing.
They beat Michigan.
yeah.
First year he got his win versus Michigan. He upset Northwestern at home. That's a good start.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good start.
to have a new coach and no practice times and all that crazy stuff. Sure, whatever.
Embarrassing Michigan is that's all that
Yeah,
made the
it's
season.
Really all they needed.
That made the season.
Yeah. So college football, kind of weird to kick it off. But then we rolled into the NFL season, which was actually a lot of fun for me.
I don't even remember where we left off at picks. It was like
Yeah.
week 8 or 9 probably.
I don't know. I know that you were ahead by a little bit at that point, though.
Did you finally give up on the Lions, or were you still holding out hope the last time? I can't even remember.
No, I had given up.
Okay.
I was on board with just retooling the whole thing. So far, they're doing that. We'll get into that. So let's first just kind of go over the season. Lions were terrible during the season. Some fun teams were the Bills. Josh Allen really had a big year this year.
I think it's sad that in a COVID year, they had their best year since the Jim Kelly Super Bowl Bills in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like this team deserved to have like full stadiums.
Yeah, they have one of the best fan bases
like
in the NFL.
The 13-3 Bills with a young star quarterback, Stephon Diggs. Like
Mm-hmm.
it sucked that like great season, getting all the way to the conference championship.
Yeah,
Barely any fans.
right.
But yeah, gotta talk about those Browns, man.
We don't have to.
Yes.
All right, you can talk
we
about
don't
the Browns.
have to.
I'm not a Browns fan.
Oh, but you're not a Bills fan either.
No, I am a Bills fan.
I thought you were just a Ravens fan.
No, Bills, Ravens, Dolphins.
You're
Lions on the side.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a fan, I guess. I just like those teams.
the Bills, Dolphins. You know what? It's just I'll let you stay with that. Cleveland Browns went 11-5. almost messed it up in the very last game against what
Mhm.
they called the JV Steelers.
Yeah.
But Baker Mayfield had a great second half of the season. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt were on a tear. That O-line was on fire. OBJ went down, and at this point, it's almost impossible to deny. People keep saying, "Oh, you can't say they get better when OBJ isn't out there." I mean,
Yeah, something about that team. They play better without
Baker,
him.
when OBJ is playing, it seems like Baker feels pressure to just figure out how to feed the star and feed everybody else.
Right.
When OBJ is out, he just plays quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And got to the playoffs. I used to be a Steelers fan, so I would have been upset with that loss, but I was so happy to see the Browns beat old Ben Roethlisberger,
Yeah,
who should be gone by now. We'll get to that at another time.
I'm sure he will be.
They won't get. I don't know.
I
He wants to come back again for less money, and they're like, we love you. We still love you, Ben.
yeah.
It's horrible. Cleveland gets to Kansas City. They had the most unlucky first half of a playoff game I've ever seen. I mean, that drive where he gets it to Higgins, he dives for the touchdown, and it gets knocked through the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
They were supposed to be down by 3 going into halftime, and it just changed the entire game.
Yeah.
The Browns ended up coming short, but a great step into the future.
Mhm.
Stefanski, one of the best coaches of this year.
Yeah, he had a lot of question marks going on into the season, and even kind of midway through the season, they hit a couple hiccups, and it ended up turning pretty good. Talking about young talent, though, there was some talented rookies this year. Justin Herbert proved
Listen,
to everyone, to all of the haters, and now I'm not going to say that I was like, don't forget about Justin Herbert in the draft. But I did say that I think he could be good.
I said
I didn't expect this, though.
I said he
I
had
would
the
never say
talent to do it, but I thought he would struggle from the start,
Yeah.
and it would take a while.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody could have predicted this.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Just like nobody saw this coming from Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
He ends up in the perfect situation, and now he's on track to be, everybody's calling him Baby Goat.
Yeah.
It's too much too early.
Right.
But he's a great quarterback right now. Nobody could have predicted this.
Mhm.
After what he showed at Oregon that last season, he'd have one great game and then just completely fall apart the next. Like,
Yeah.
With Anthony Lynn and that team where they're injured every year, there's constant dysfunction,
Yeah.
and he steps in. Also, Tyrod Taylor with the weird.
Yeah, that whole thing was. I feel bad for
Yeah.
my guy Tyrod.
He has ushered in so many new starting quarterbacks. It is
Mhm.
it's insane at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And they got what, like 7 wins this season or something?
I think it was 6.
6 or 7?
But
yeah.
it's because they lost in the clutch almost
Right.
every game for like a 7-week
Yeah.
stretch.
But to be in all those games with like having one of the better defenses, and granted, like you said, their entire like defense, all their big players were hurt. But to be able to like get that team anywhere near victories
Yeah.
was quite impressive.
He played like a veteran Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
From the jump, it's hard to explain. I want to hear like more in-depth analysis on what went into this, because that coaching staff, that team, the way the injuries happened, the coaching wasn't amazing. Like how did he just flourish like this?
Yeah.
How did he become so comfortable?
Right.
Like, oh, easy. I got this.
Yeah.
It was
It does help that he has a guy like Keenan Allen, who I feel like a lot of people kind of forget about.
for a lot of the season. He was throwing to like second-year
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
free agents. Like,
Jalen Guyton.
even though Jalen Guyton, I knew him out of North Texas because
I knew you would.
I'm a football weirdo and I'm way too into this. But yeah, he like raised the level of everybody on that team.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
Yeah. And then another offensive player. After this draft, everybody kept talking about Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb. Who comes out on top? Justin Jefferson. Granted, I think he was in a perfect situation
Absolutely.
to thrive in that offense, but he still had
He
to
took
play.
full
and
advantage of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he performed, and he finished as like the top 3 receiver on the season.
In terms of receiving yards,
Yeah.
he had over 1,400.
And he didn't even like start in the first couple games.
They didn't give him targets.
It's crazy how good he was. Granted, again, he has Adam Thielen on the other side, so it's it's a perfect combination. But
and Dalvin Cook. So
right,
all the pressure is taken off of him. But then, when they target him, he does
Yeah.
nothing but make plays.
yeah, and like he had some really good routes that he would run.
Shouts out to the Eagles for passing up on him at 20. They're we'll get to
I was
them
gonna say,
later. Also,
There's a lot about the
we'll
Eagles.
we'll get to the NFC least very soon.
And then trying to think of some other big rookie standouts. I mean,
Well, before he got hurt, Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
He was on track to be rookie of the year. The way he was carrying that pitiful team.
yeah,
I mean, the crazy part is he has some good weapons around him in terms of receivers.
yep,
He had Joe Mixon, and his backups were good, but the O-line,
it's terrible.
my God,
Yeah, it's awful.
the way he was taking a beating
Mhm.
and still playing his butt off every week, it was incredible. He would have been rookie of the year most likely.
Yeah.
because they probably would have won like 5 games.
Yeah.
if he kept playing.
And then you got to talk about the running backs too. Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Kansas City. I think he was still underutilized. I don't think they used him enough.
If it wasn't for injuries, he probably would have rushed for 1,000.
Yeah. He came out the gates. His first game of the season, I know we talked about it, but he just popped off. And then
DeAndre Swift. for the
DeAndre Swift
Lions.
got it going for the
Yeah, at
Lions.
first, his slow start, it threw me off at first, even though I knew it was injuries. Like he didn't
Yeah.
look the same as he did at Georgia at all.
Mhm.
But once like week 4 and 5 hit, like I think the Jacksonville game is when his speed started to look like it used to at Georgia, and
Yeah.
he started to make more plays again.
And then Jonathan Taylor, he was all over the map
He-
this season.
Started slow and
I feel
finished
like
on a historic pace.
Part of it was the Colts. I still, and I said this in the middle of the season, that I felt like the Colts were messing with him and shaking up his head or whatever. I don't know.
They had a thing going with the offense they had already.
Yeah.
Like Phillip Rivers was playing really well. Naheem Hines is like a jack of all trades out the backfield.
Right.
So like they had everything working within that already.
Mhm.
They had to figure out how to make him a focal point as the season went on,
Mhm.
and they figured it out.
Yeah.
last
By,
half of
by the end
season.
of the season, Jonathan Taylor looked like Jonathan Taylor
Yeah.
again. He was running everybody over. I think he had a couple 200-yard games at
In
the end of the
last few weeks,
season,
yeah.
which was crazy.
But I'm going to still, from the beginning, I said J.K. Dobbins would be the best back in this draft. I'm going to stick with it, even though Jonathan
he still could be, yeah.
even though Jonathan finished with more yards.
Mhm.
I just had a feeling J.K. Dobbins' skill set was perfect for what the NFL is now. And when he went to the Ravens, I was like, okay, yeah, that's, even though there were 3 like running backs ahead of him, I was
Plus
like,
Lamar Jackson.
I knew he was going to figure out a way to get carries somehow
Yeah.
because he's just that good.
And that's the Ravens offense. They like to just run with all the weapons that they have.
Yeah.
And now next year, Mark Ingram's retired. So he's going to have to worry about Gus Edwards, which I think in a 1-2 punch, those guys will be really good and should be able to keep up kind of what they've been doing. So, yeah, I think a lot of the offensive rookies did really good. The defensive rookies,
Who won defensive rookie of the year? I honestly,
I
can't.
don't know. I don't know. I want to
don't
say that it
remember.
was Jeremy Chin, but I don't know for sure.
I can't even remember.
Because the only thing that I remember is that, like, for defensive rookies, they were good, but it seemed like the guys that were drafted later did better. Like the top guys, like Isaiah Simmons, Jeff Okudah, none of them really did
Yeah.
anything crazy.
the guy from Baltimore, Patrick Queen,
Yeah,
he was a beast from the jump.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even him, was he second round or late?
He was
first?
at the end of the first.
End of the
And
first.
people expected him to go higher. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So interesting NFL rookies. We're gonna have an even crazier rookie draft class coming in. Lots of quarterbacks.
Now on to the big game.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Super Bowl.
The most recent thing.
Yeah, let's catch up. Tampa Bay playing Kansas City. The GOAT debate. What we all wish the NBA could do and put LeBron James versus Michael Jordan, but they can't. So the football blessed us.
Even though there is no debate at this point, but
Yeah.
even before that game, there was no debate.
Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady taking Tampa Bay to the Super Bowl, beating up on everybody, versus Patrick Mahomes, last year's winner. It's I can't even remember what they said when the last time it was that somebody repeated winning the Super Bowl, but it's almost impossible to do. Very difficult. And the Chiefs put themselves in a position to do so up until they ran into the Bucs. Now, earlier in the season, they played each other, and Tyreek Hill ran all over Tampa Bay's
in one quarter.
in one quarter.
Yes.
He almost set multiple records, and blew it up. So going into the Super Bowl, somewhat of a rematch, they didn't let Tyreek Hill do anything. They doubled him every chance they got. They said, this guy is not going to beat us. And that's what they did. Tampa Bay's defense was incredible.
Their D-line was insane.
Yeah.
I think they pressured him 29 times.
Yeah, and that was like the most in a Super Bowl history. Patrick Mahomes was held to career lows in all sorts of stats. It was just brutal for him. Now, he was missing some offensive linemen, which is part of it. But at the same time, like, just Tampa Bay's defense did really good at shutting him down. And what is your take about the MVP for the Super Bowl? Do you think Tom Brady deserved the Super Bowl MVP?
Well, but before we get to that, I don't know if we should bring up the refs controversy, because people just think the NFL paved the way for Tom Brady to get his 7th ring, and they just wanted him.
Yeah.
But Tyreek Hill dropped a touchdown pass on the first drive, bounced right off his face.
Yep.
Second drive, Travis Kelce drops a ball for a first down.
He did that a couple times, which you don't see Travis Kelce do very often.
The Chiefs were horrible in the first half.
Yeah.
Including the Chiefs DBs.
Yeah.
Who just held on to Tampa Bay Buccaneers receivers the entire time.
And that was something me and you were texting back and forth about during the game, was like, they're just playing lazy.
Is it the Mike Evans call was a bad call. It was like a phantom call.
Yeah.
But every other thing, they go to the replay, DB is holding on to him for like 5 seconds.
Right.
And then throws his hands up like nothing happened. Like, it was just bad defense. They weren't making plays on offense. And Tampa Bay took advantage of it.
Yep.
And jumped on them very quickly.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying, like, with as far as, like, you know, Tom Brady being insanely good in this game.
He was good.
Yeah, I don't think he was like the factor, but he did what he was supposed to do. You know, he only had to throw 29 passes. He was 21 of 29, super efficient.
3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns in those time. The funny thing that I thought, those 3 touchdowns, 2 to Gronk and 1 to Antonio Brown. His guys. Not Mike Evans. You didn't see Chris Godwin very much, either one of those guys. He went back to the guys that he knows and the guys that he brought in for this specific moment, which I thought was cool. And Leonard Fournette ran one in for a touchdown, and he had a really good game.
To me, that touchdown really was like the backbreaker. Because he just ran like 20 yards wide open. Like, every Kansas City defender just like started jogging once he broke into I was like, this is done.
Or I even say the Gronk touchdowns. Like, you found Gronk a couple times, like, he just would streak over the middle and get 20 yards, which haven't seen that from Gronk all year. So to give that up is pretty crazy. But I give all the props, I think, to Tampa Bay's defense for just stepping up. Devin White is incredible. He's one of the best in the league already.
Jason Pierre-Paul,
yeah, he
still wreaking havoc,
making a comeback. You know, for a couple years, he was kind of, you know, after the whole fireworks incident, he was kind of, it disappeared, and then he came back, and now he's playing at top-notch level again.
Him and Shaq Barrett off both edges is a nightmare.
Yeah, it's scary. And then you just have Vita Vea and Sue, just big dudes in the middle.
Then you got Antoine Winfield as a rookie. He's the leader of the back of the defense. He's that good.
Yeah.
When you got that and Devin White,
right,
and like, they got so many weapons.
Yeah, they're just stacked. And that's like a lot of people talking about maybe giving Tom Brady a little bit too much props. He fits perfectly with this team. There's no denying that. But at the same time, like, people are like, oh, he took a team that was nothing to something. And no, they were nothing because of Jameis Winston turning the ball over. Even Jameis Winston made this team look good at times, but he turned the ball over 30 times.
They had a ceiling of 7 to 9 wins because of Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
That team with him should have made the playoffs like 3 or 4 times.
Right.
But they always were capped at like 7, 8, 9 because of those turnovers and bad play.
Yeah. And then now, like, they kept getting, like, Devin White is getting there, and now they got Winfield, like you said. Like, they just keep adding talent, too, every year.
Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah.
First pick of the draft they made. Put him in
Mhm.
instantly.
They're like, let's protect Tom Brady. And that's what they did, and that was a perfect pick for them. Now, the crazy thing is that Tom Brady wants to probably run it back.
Not probably.
And
He's playing until 45.
I just
there's
don't
no
understand
doubt.
it. It's crazy because I always think that you should try to go out on top, but Tom Brady's just, I don't know. He's something different.
You realize he still might go out on top, right?
No, he could. He definitely could, but man, it's like they said, it's so hard to go back to the Super Bowl. Granted, he's been there 10 times, but to go back to back in an NFC that is pretty volatile, I feel like. I don't know. It's crazy.
Well, we'll in a minute we'll talk about the guy that might be his competition. Good old Matty Stafford in L.A.
Oh, man.
Superstar town.
All right, let's okay, let's go into that. Tampa Bay wins the Super Bowl. Cool.
7 rings, baby.
Let's move on to the Lions. Talk about all the things that they've been doing.
Blockbuster trade.
First of all, they finally got rid of Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, which is great. Thank goodness they did it before the season even ended, which was fantastic. So they got plenty of time to bring in new guys. And think about it. They ended up bringing in Dan Campbell as their coach. He was assistant coach for the Saints.
I thought he was the D coordinator. Or was he just a defensive coach?
Yeah, he was like, I think he was a
I thought he was the
defensive
D
coach.
coordinator.
I don't know.
He was a defensive coach for the New Orleans.
Sorry,
Saints.
people, I'm not up to my research as of lately.
He was a
There's been other things going on. Got their new GM, which is funny that their GM is from the Rams organization. They also signed Anthony Lynn, which I think is a great signing.
As a coordinator,
Exactly.
fantastic.
He's not a head coach like they tried to put him in the Chargers, but for a coordinator, offensive coordinator, I think he's great. I think what he schemes up is great. So I think that's an exciting move to make, actually. And then the Lions finally did the unthinkable. They traded Matthew Stafford. Now, I've been a long time Stafford lover. I've enjoyed Matt Stafford on the team, but within the last year and a half, I've definitely been on the train like, okay, I'm ready to just move on, because it's like the Pistons where you try to hold on and hold on and hold on, and it's never going to do anything. So the only way to reset is to just completely reset. And they've got everybody in the front office to change, so it's time to get the quarterback out of there. And man, did they get a trade that I didn't expect. They traded Matthew Stafford to the Rams for Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks, and a second, third? What was the other pick?
I think it was like future second and third, like next year. Yeah.
Well, the first-round picks are for next year and the
Okay,
following year, but there's a third-round pick for this year,
I think so.
I believe. Second or third-round pick for this year, which is crazy because we get a young quarterback in Jared Goff. However you feel about him,
I have feelings.
he's been to the Super Bowl. I have feelings too.
Strong feelings about that one.
And then we also have the number 7 pick of this year. We're going to be bad again, so we're going to get another good first round next year, plus the Rams' first round pick. You know, the Rams are going to be middle of the pack, upper echelon of the playoffs, so that pick won't be great, but it's another first round pick.
You said middle of the pack, the Rams?
Potentially. We don't know how Matthew Stafford's going to translate over there. I'm just saying.
That's true.
So,
But if they
people have crazy expectations for that Rams team now, which I don't think is realistic.
I don't have crazy expectations, and I don't have like crazy negative either.
That's a rookie that I forgot about, Cam Akers. Came on strong at the end of the season.
My thing, if they could still go as far as they did with trash Jared Goff, as bad as he was the past 2 years in LA,
Yeah.
and their team is still good enough to win like 11 games.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Stafford is better than Jared Goff right now.
Yeah, I agree. Their defense carries
That's
them.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Jared Goff has been the reason why they haven't gotten back to a conference championship. There's no reason why they shouldn't have gotten back.
Yeah.
Because they have everything else.
Mm-hmm. And so now the Lions have a lot of decisions to make. And I'm kind of I've hit the point where I'm okay with almost any of the decisions that they make because of the whole reset. So they have this number 7 pick in this draft. And people are saying, depending on what happens earlier on, either a quarterback, Devontae Smith, or Micah Parsons or something like that, a defensive player. I'm almost okay with all of those. Not so much of Devontae Smith, but they also could try to trade Jared Goff now because apparently there's still interest in Jared Goff, which I also don't understand. I'm not the biggest Jared Goff guy. So if we could flip him for more assets, I'd be totally okay with it. Or if we want to keep Jared Goff for like a year or something as like a holdover, I'm okay with that too. Because he's not going to take this team anywhere. Nobody can take this team anywhere. So there's a lot of things that the Lions can do that I'm okay with. Now, obviously, I get that you don't like Jared Goff at all. So what do you want the Lions to do?
I hope there's still a quarterback on the board at 7. I want them to draft a quarterback.
Which I don't know if you saw the mock draft today. Sorry to interrupt again, but
that new mock draft, the one with all quarterbacks in the first 4 picks.
Top 4 quarterbacks.
I don't know why that all of a sudden, like, every mock draft in the past, like, 2 months has been, like, quarterbacks fluctuating between, like, the top 15. Now all of a sudden it's going to be the top 4.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's completely unpredictable, and I don't think that's going to happen either.
Yeah. Which is weird because, like, the last that I heard is that the Falcons don't want to trade Julio Jones or Matt Ryan.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they
So if that's the case, why would they draft Justin Fields? I don't know.
Well, they could draft. I've seen a lot of the Zach Wilson mocks. I'm sure they'd have Zach Wilson. If you draft Justin Fields, he doesn't sit.
Yeah.
If you draft Zach Wilson, there could be a reason for sitting him a year or two.
But I've seen Zach Wilson go number 2 to the Jets. So
I've seen that too.
I don't know. The draft is going to be crazy.
I go least with the one where it's all quarterbacks in the first 4 picks. I don't think that never happens.
Yeah.
That never happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully the Lions can figure something out. But back
flip Goff somewhere.
Yeah,
please.
I was going to say back to what you were saying.
Whether it's like now or in the like after this season, dude, he's not the future.
Yeah. Do you want the Lions to go? So did you just say that you want the Lions to go quarterback if available?
Yes.
Okay. Because that was going to be my other question. Do you want the Lions to do offense or defense as the first round? Because I've gone 2 different ways, and I'm okay with either one. I want them to load up on offense this year or load up on defense this year, because I think either option is good. But I don't want to mix and match because, like I keep saying, they're going to be back in this situation next year. So if they feel like the offensive guys like Devontae Smith and like a Justin Fields, Zach Wilson are better than the defensive guys that they're looking at, like a Micah Parsons and things like that, I would go with one side of the ball. Try to fix that as best you can. And I lean towards offense just because then we get something to watch this year, and then we work on the defense next year and just go all in because we got multiple first-round picks, and there's going to be free agency and things like that. So that's just my thought, is to not mix and match too much. Use the first couple rounds to go one side of the ball and stick to it, because there are good defensive guys. There's like I said, Micah Parsons. Was it Barmore from Alabama? There's a couple other defensive backs.
You got Pat Surtain from Alabama.
Yes, that was the other one I was trying to think of. Alabama, of course, has multiple strong players. But yeah, I think the draft is going to be pretty fun this year, and I'm excited to see not only what the Lions do, but a lot of the other teams. As now we have no idea. There's at least 4 quarterbacks that a lot of people want, and no idea where they're going to go.
And then you got Mac Jones
Mm-hmm.
is a wild card thrown in there too, because after his Senior Bowl, he's risen up.
Yeah.
Because whatever system you throw at him, he gets it. He
Mhm.
makes every read like exactly how it is, and he's deadly accurate.
Yeah. And I
And
hate.
I have some once we get to draft talk, I have some crazy crazy thoughts on
Yeah.
Mac Jones.
I don't want to draw any comparisons, and maybe this leads into what we'll get to down the road when we get closer to drafting, but Mac Jones feels very similar to a Tom Brady in style. And I'm not going to say he's going to be Tom Brady because that's preposterous.
I'm saving my thoughts
Okay.
for
But
the draft stuff.
that's just my feeling because of his style of play.
Because I'm afraid that he has that type of potential, and I would be the only person to say it, and I would be completely wrong. But yeah.
But speaking of other quarterbacks, not through the draft, but because of this Matthew Stafford deal, it has caused a big ripple effect throughout the league of quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, we saw at the end of the NFL season, was a mess.
Yeah.
And
That Eagles situation in that last game, that just blew up in everybody in that organization except for like Jalen Hurts.
yeah.
It just blew up in everybody's face
Mm-hmm.
because it was Nate Sudfeld. That's all I'll say. It's
Yeah.
just Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah. And both you and I, we both wanted to see Jalen Hurts at some point to be able to see what he can do at least. I mean,
why wouldn't you let him finish the game?
right. And they
To see
drafted the
what he
guy.
had.
Yeah. And so, like, I don't know. And now Carson Wentz wants out. He's demanding a trade, basically. And the Eagles want a package that's very similar to Matthew Stafford. Now, I don't know how they pulled that off because I felt like the Rams were a little bit crazy to give that much away for Matthew Stafford. I did think that we could maybe get a first-round pick, but I didn't think we'd get 2. So now for the Eagles to want that seems crazy for Carson Wentz, especially with his antics that he's been through this last season. And then there's Desean Watson, who, big surprise, he wants out of Houston.
I feel the worst for him. The Texans are like, oh, we're not trading him.
Yeah.
Why? What is everybody talking about?
Mhm.
He's our quarterback.
Which
It's so bad.
there's no way that they won't, because
They gotta trade him.
somebody, I swear, like the Colts or somebody would throw everything but the kitchen sink to get him.
The latest I've heard is the 49ers, and I really want to see that happen.
That would be incredible.
Trade Garoppolo and some picks.
Could you
Send Watson to, oh my God.
could you imagine Watson with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and those
And that
guys?
stable are running. Oh,
George Kittle.
it would. It'd be incredible. It would be incredible.
Their defense is already good, and to see their offense like take a jump.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yes, I wanted Stafford to the Colts,
Yeah.
but the Rams thing, it really has shaken up everything.
Yeah.
Because
Just the amount.
I think Wentz to the Colts makes the most sense now. Because
Mhm.
Frank Reich is the one person that like brought all the good out of Carson Wentz,
Right.
and as soon as he left, the negatives just all came to the surface.
Yeah. So now the trade market for quarterbacks is weird.
What do the Bears do with Mitch?
Yeah, the Bears
What do they
are
do?
in play to
They
get
made
Deshaun
they
Watson.
made the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah. A lot of people have
Yeah.
suggested them to go after Deshaun Watson. The Jets are looking at quarterback. Where does Sam Darnold go?
They also just might keep Sam
Right.
because with the right parts around him, he can still. They've crushed what greatness he could have been like from
Mhm.
the jump. He could still like bring back his career if
Yeah.
they put the right stuff around him. Robert Saleh, great start with that hire.
Yeah, and that means that the Jets they're looking to do something if they're making
Yeah.
a big hire like that. So I don't know. There's going to be a lot of moving parts.
Wentz is supposed to be the next move. That's what everybody's anticipating,
Yeah,
that he'll be traded soon.
and that will definitely set the Deshaun Watson precedent. Which I mean, I think is already going to be astronomical if anybody wants Deshaun Watson, but who knows? All right. We spent a lot of time on the NFL. We'll keep catching up as weeks go on. We get back into a rhythm. But let's move on to college basketball. We got Michigan and Michigan State basically doing exact opposites of each other. Michigan all the way up to number 3 in the nation. They were undefeated for a long time. They're now sitting at 13-1, I believe. And they've been on a 4-week hiatus. They have not played a game because of COVID protocols and contact tracing and things like that. So they've been on a break, and they've slowly been moving up the rankings, which has some people a little upset, but we enjoy it to see Michigan go up there. And then on the other side, Michigan State is looking like they may not even make the tournament. They look lifeless.
They just barely beat Penn State.
It looks like they don't care. And it's such a weird thing to see, like, no energy from a Michigan State team. If there's anything about a Michigan State basketball team, it's that they will bring energy to the game, and I just don't see it. And they have so many question marks. They don't have like a leader per se. I mean, I guess Jeremy Langford, like I said, because he's been there, but at the same time, it's like I don't know what they're gonna do. And then Michigan they've just been balling out. Like we thought that they could be good this year, but not this good.
It honestly, like you said, it's a black and white situation. Michigan State, like from the beginning of this season, every decision Tom Izzo has been making has just been a question mark to me. From his lineup decisions to starting guys, not starting them, not letting certain guys get into a rhythm that need to be in a rhythm. Like it's clear that at this point there are guys that aren't mentally in it anymore. There are some guys that are like getting more opportunity and they're still in it. Like it's just been so weird. And I like you said, they're bringing in a pretty good recruiting class next year. And I'm sure fans think things will just go back to normal, but the way Tom Izzo has he refuses to change with the players he has. And there's no reason why this team shouldn't have been one of the best teams in the country to me. Right. A lot of Michigan State teams have all of a sudden started saying, oh, it's just a talent problem. Everything will be back to normal. It's not a huge talent problem.
Mm-hmm.
With better coaching, this team could have been so much better, and there could have been more consistency.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been any of that from the jump this season.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just been all over the place.
Yeah, and I would definitely say, as weird as it is to sound, I would say that Izzo is kind of on the hot seat. It's just been a weird.
Well, he honestly isn't, and he never will.
No,
be.
I know,
but he should get more criticism.
But he's at least gonna get it from the fans, if anything.
I've seen there are a group of fans that are really angry with what he's been doing this season.
Yeah,
but there are also the followers that will never lose hope in him. And he's still a great coach. This is just the team.
Yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Michigan is just, like we said, Juwan Howard's been doing a great job. Isaiah Livers doing exactly what we hoped he would do. Just keep balling out. Franz Wagner, another year, another step up. And then we alluded to it a little bit when we did previews and stuff, but I don't remember if it was you or me that even brought him up. It might have been me because I felt like Michigan needed somebody in the middle. They got that guy in Hunter Dickinson. He's been incredible to watch, to be honest. A little bit out of nowhere. I only wanted to see a little bit out of him. He's the leading scorer for this team. And, I mean, there's no other explanation but that it's because of Juwan Howard's experience in coaching that I feel like he's developed so well.
They love playing for him.
Yeah.
It's clear they love playing for him. They have all the confidence in the world in each other and him.
Mm-hmm.
He has full confidence in them. He just lets them play their game. It's pretty beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I've been afraid to get excited about this team the entire time.
I know,
because
even me and you texting earlier in the season, you weren't fully committal to it, and I said I thought they could keep winning.
It was too good to be true.
Yeah,
I've been let down so many years. This is way too good of a team.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make sense in my mind that this is a Michigan basketball team with a second-year head coach in Juwan Howard.
Yeah.
How is it that Shondy Brown and Mike Smith transfers? They just fit perfectly and they work immediately.
Yeah.
How is it that Hunter Dickinson is already one of the best big men in the country?
Yeah.
Isaiah Livers comes back. He's playing great basketball. Franz Wagner started slow, but he's playing great basketball.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that all of this is working?
Yeah.
It still boggles my mind that it's all just working out perfectly almost.
Yeah. The transition from Beeline to Juwan Howard has been nothing but buttery smooth. And they're just keeping this culture for this team. Like you said, they're kind of playing for each other. They're enjoying playing for their coach. And they look good when they play. And they're a fun team to watch. That's what I always liked about the Beeline teams.
That's why when Beeline left, I said, whoever they hire, I figure that the culture is in such a great place.
Mm-hmm.
They are in such a positive place as a program. that there won't be a huge fall off, even if they don't hire like the best coach.
Yeah.
And it's weird, man.
Yeah, it's worked
It's
out
like-
perfectly.
I'm in the twilight zone with this team.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't wrap my head around it.
It's because of that football team that's put a bad taste in your mouth.
That and I've seen John Beeline teams get so close so many times
Yeah.
and fall short
Mm-hmm.
that I'm like, well, the shoe's gonna drop at some point.
Yeah.
Like this team is playing incredible, almost flawless. Like what they did to Wisconsin,
Mm-hmm.
like it didn't make sense how they've been dismantling teams.
Yeah. And I think the scary thing too is like for me, the times that Michigan under Beeline would make a big run in the tournament is when they were underdogs.
Yeah,
Now people
Absolutely.
know who they are. And I mean they're number 3 in the nation, and I think a lot of teams are a little bit scared to play them because they're the best team in the Big Ten, arguably, I guess. Some people think Ohio State, but the Big Ten is a powerhouse this year, and to be on top of the Big Ten in a conference like that, that's saying something.
Yeah, this Sunday they're jumping right back into the thick of the Big Ten
Mhm.
after a 3-week, almost 4-week hiatus. Like you go to Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I think that's going to
Yes.
be a really good test just for
Exactly.
their mental fortitude.
Go straight to it, even though Wisconsin has been really like up and down.
Yeah.
Their seniors haven't stepped up like people expected,
Mm-hmm.
besides Demetric Trice.
Yeah.
But playing at Wisconsin is always ridiculously difficult.
Right.
Then they got Rutgers, who's gotten back on track.
Mhm.
Then they got Illinois. Like,
Yeah.
it's right back into, well, toughest conference in the country.
Exactly. Touching back on the rest of the country real quick, Gonzaga and Baylor are still number 1 and 2 in the season.
It's
Nothing
not close either.
Nothing's changed.
It's not close.
They've just run away with everything. But in relevance to Michigan State possibly missing the tournament, we also have Duke
Yeah,
maybe missing the tournament.
the powerhouse blue blood schools this year. It's some head scratchers.
Duke?
They gave up 93 points to Notre Dame yesterday.
Yeah.
First time losing to Notre Dame since 2017, I believe. Notre Dame lost 7 straight before yesterday.
Yeah. Could you imagine a tournament without Michigan State, Duke, Kentucky,
Kentucky's 5-12.
and possibly North Carolina?
I think North Carolina's gonna get in. That
Yeah.
that Duke win showed they've got some stuff in them. They're a solid team.
Yeah.
And they'll probably sneak in there at like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, is this year for Blue Bloods? COVID has not done them well.
I was gonna say
'Cause-
there's a possibility though for like 3 or 4 of those like just all-time teams to not make
Yeah.
the tournament.
But there is kind of a sign of like how these things are. Every school that's gone with the 5-star depend on young guys system,
They're not ready to play in this kind of environment.
you got to have time to get them established
Mhm.
in these types of universities, in these big time environments where the pressure is like, we don't care that you're 17, 18 years old kids.
Yeah.
You come to Kentucky, if you don't win, get out.
Mhm.
Go to the draft, leave. We don't care. You
Right.
got to win. This is Duke.
Yeah.
Win. And yeah, like a part of it is that, and I think another part of it is, I think like the big level talents, like the Zion Williamsons, the Jabari Parkers at Duke, Jason Tatum's. Kentucky, you have De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, John Wall, like Jamal Murray. This class doesn't have any of those guys,
Mhm.
and that's like been a real surprise. Guys like Hunter Dickinson have been some of the freshmen that have completely like taken over.
Yeah.
And some people thought Hunter Dickinson should have been a 5-star. He was like close to it. He was like 4-star, but yeah, there have been some freshmen that have been surprising. And like North Carolina's best freshman is the guy that was not ranked.
Mhm.
A kid named Kerwin Walton, who's a knockdown 3-point shooter, is like their most productive freshman. It's been like all over the place.
Yeah. Just kind of goes to show like what a crazy year it's been.
Top draft prospects are living up to the hype though.
Yeah.
Those freshmen are.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in basically just a second. We got about 10 minutes left here, so we'll slide on over to the NBA, where the Pistons are doing an absolutely phenomenal job
Fantastic.
of tanking
I
in the
love it.
best way possible. The Pistons are the worst team in the league. but they've beaten the Lakers. They've beaten the Nets.
You want to know something crazy? I think the Timberwolves are a worse team than them.
Oh no, they probably are.
They are a worse team.
Yeah.
Because they have more talent.
Mm-hmm.
They have more talent. Their coach has been there for some years now. Even though Karl Anthony Towns is hurt, they play like bad basketball.
Yeah.
The Pistons don't play bad basketball.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not good enough yet.
Yep.
They're not good enough.
Yeah.
The emergence of Jeremy Grant,
he's been
insane.
incredible. Yeah.
It's something nobody saw coming. And The Ringer made a video on YouTube a few days ago. His development and like his improvement has actually tracked since his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
Like his like second or third year in OKC, his 3-point percentage jumped from like 30 to like 35.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes from OKC to Denver. It jumps from 35 to like 38.
Wow.
And like he's literally gotten better and better every season.
Yeah.
And then he took a chance on himself.
Yeah.
And
then you think like we talked about it before. Troy Weaver was known for being the one to draft Russell Westbrook, and like he's got an eye for talent. So is it very possible that he saw this trajectory and said, "Let's get Jeremy Grant. We need him on this team"? Because a lot of us were kind of like, Jeremy Grant's he's like a nice piece to have. We were looking at Fred VanVleet, which also probably would have been nice, but Jeremy Grant worked out really well, and he's looked very, very talented.
Another thing I haven't considered, I didn't realize once I like started thinking about the moves Troy Weaver made, and I started looking at the ages of the players, I did not realize Jeremy Grant was only 26.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I thought he was almost 30 already.
No, yeah.
And then I was like, wait a minute.
Not been in the league very long.
He's only 26.
Mm-hmm.
Jaleel Okafor, solid backup center. Josh Jackson, just realizing some of his potential. Like, these young dudes, they're playing hard. They're playing smart. Svi is like a knockdown shooter.
Yeah.
Sekou has kind of taken a step back, but that's because all the other young guys are getting their chances.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like the rebuild that they're doing right now.
Yeah. So far it's looking good. Obviously the one downfall is Killian Hayes. Got hurt. And even when he played, he hadn't looked very good.
Rough start.
Granted, it's a weird year. Kid's really young. Hopefully he can figure it out. But the Pistons did make a move to kind of cover for that just a little bit. They traded Derrick Rose back to the New York Knicks. It's kind of a weird trade, but I like it. Pistons end up getting a second-round pick in the upcoming draft, and they get Dennis Smith Jr., who demoted himself to the G League just like a week prior. But Dennis Smith Jr. is super exciting. He's got a 48-inch vertical. When he was getting time on the floor, he looked really good, but he seemed to fade away at times and like a little bit of some mental stuff that just seemed to be hindering him from reaching his full potential. But he's got plenty of talent, I think. And on this Pistons team, I think he should get plenty of opportunity. So I'm excited to see him. I think he'll be in the game tomorrow, I believe, which will be cool. And the other nice thing is the Pistons are they're tanking, so they're looking at Cade Cunningham in the next upcoming draft.
The Pistons are better than the Wizards.
Yeah.
They're a better team than the Wizards.
And the Wizards have Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, who is popping off.
Yeah. Like, the Wizards have no idea. To me, they're in the place that the Pistons were in like 2012, 2013, where it's like, we're going to win, but our roster doesn't match it, but we're still going to win.
Yeah. We got Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe. And
look at these free agents, Josh Smith and Brandon Jennings.
Yeah. Hey, Brandon Jennings
look at us.
Guy. Yeah, I can see that. Another big news that, you forget about. James Harden got traded to the Nets. So the Nets had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, but they've not been great. They've been good.
It's been a
but they've not run away with the East yet.
Rough transition. Last night they lost to the Pistons.
Yep. They didn't have Kevin Durant in that game.
Yeah. So still.
They had James Harden and Kyrie Irving.
I was on Twitter earlier this morning. Every Nets fan was like, "Oh, they didn't have KD. What do you expect?"
Yeah. Come on. The Pistons have Jeremy Grant, Blake Griffin,
worst team in the
on
East.
one leg.
Worst team in the East. You have James Harden and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
No excuses.
Yeah.
They still have their transitioning to do, but yeah, I don't want to hear any crying from the Brooklyn Nets fans that just keep getting riches over and over again.
Yeah. And let's quickly go over the standings while we have a couple minutes here to end. Philadelphia playing really good.
Joel Embiid finally playing like an MVP.
Yeah, he finally got the memo, I guess. It's something we keep talking about is that Joel Embiid needs to figure out to take over and just
dominate.
Figure it out. And
like he should.
So far he's been doing it. Milwaukee, they're right there in second. They're kind of doing their thing.
They're a good team.
They don't look as good as last year.
No. I don't think Malcolm Brogdon was it.
Yeah.
We said this before. Once they traded Malcolm Brogdon, that was it to me.
Right.
And Drew has been playing really well.
Mhm.
We both love Drew.
And I think Drew is a better player overall.
He's better than Eric Bledsoe was in that same spot.
Yeah, but the Malcolm Brogdon fit worked. And it just worked with that team. And so yeah. Like we said, Brooklyn, they're 14-12. I don't know. Maybe they'll figure it out. But their defense is horrendous. They're probably going to make another trade, honestly.
They got to get a center.
Yeah.
They have to losing Jared Allen.
Yeah.
To me, that was the piece that they needed.
Giving the Cavs their fifth center of the roster.
Listen, man. They traded Jared Allen, and I think they need to trade with Cleveland again to get JaVale McGee.
Yeah. And then you got, your typical middle of the pack Boston and Indiana teams.
Jaylen Brown has been incredible this season.
Yeah.
He has been incredible. Him and Tatum averaging 27.
Yeah. But I mean, I figured as soon as, you move Hayward and those guys out, and Kemba Walker was hurt at the beginning of the season, it needed to be Tatum and Brown.
They need some more firepower too.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Indiana, TJ Warren has been injured and stuff, so we don't get to see the bubble TJ Warren that I was excited to see.
That's not coming back.
I know.
Sabonis is my dude.
Sabonis is good.
I can't believe how good he is now, but he's great. Him and Brogdon are like top flight all-stars.
Mm-hmm.
And once Karis LeVert gets healthy, I can't wait to see how they look.
Miles Turner, he had a down year last year.
He found his role.
Yeah.
They don't look at him to be the superstar anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a menace on defense.
Yeah.
And a good shooter too.
Charlotte. Are you kidding me?
Can we both give a round of applause to Michael Jordan for this one?
Man, I never thought that a roster with Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, and LaMelo Ball would be good.
LaMelo,
he's been good.
Listen,
he's been really good. I'm just saying.
He has been phenomenal so far. And listen,
he's not even starting all the time either.
People look down on my boy Gordon Hayward. Okay, I'm getting a little emotional about this.
I drafted him in my fantasy league.
People went on a Gordon Hayward slander tour. Once he started searching for big money, people ripped him apart. He hasn't been good since Utah. What has he done?
Yeah, he tried to he tried to get to a chip with the Celtics.
He averaged 18 and 7 as a fourth option. 18 points and 7 rebounds.
Yeah.
50, 49.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But he
with you.
He lost it all.
I'm with you.
People don't pay attention, man.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, he's back.
Mm-hmm.
He just, of course, now that he's back to being a number one guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
in Boston, he was the fourth option. He was averaging fantastic numbers.
Yep. And then I'll give it to my brother. My brother called it saying LaMelo Ball would unlock Miles Bridges. He has. They just run the floor.
Their chemistry is insane.
They just run the floor and
is fantastic.
Throw up lobs.
Yeah, how is it that they've made nothing but good moves in these past 3 years have shaped their future.
And
we all thought it was going to fall apart again.
Because if you take each one of those individual moves, they look terrible.
The Terry Rozier move looked insanely bad.
Yeah.
He's playing his butt off.
And he's played really good. And I hate Terry Rozier, but he's played good.
PJ Washington, we all knew was a pretty solid pick, but he's their power forward of the future pretty much.
Yep.
It is Malik Monk is showing some rejuvenation out here.
Yeah. And then
it's looking bright in Charlotte.
The other team right behind them is in the same boat, Atlanta, which was a little more obvious.
They're still working out kinks. They'll get it together.
They were a little more obvious that they were going to get going.
Your boy Herder, man. I'm sorry for doubting. I apologize.
I appreciate that.
I apologize. Every time he's in, he plays big. I didn't see this.
He's almost like we were just talking about Gordon Hayward being on the Celtics. That's kind of like Herter's role. And he's not averaging 18 and 7.
But I'm saying, like, Cam Reddish gets hurt. He just steps in. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. He
All
just
right.
fills the void. I told you, I love that guy.
I'm impressed, man.
DeAndre Hunter has been huge.
All their young players have improved.
Clint Capella.
He's been on
Did I expect that from Clint Capella? No.
He's been on a tear. He's had a 30 and 20. He's had like a few 20 and 20s.
Yeah, he had a game where he had like 7 blocks or something like that.
The thing with them, I think John Collins is going to become a problem for them, and not because he's a really good young player, but he's been like going at Trae Young, kind of saying like he's kind of selfish. He's not making the team better.
Yeah,
them two bumping heads isn't good for them.
Right,
and they've got to. That's a part of the thing. They don't have everything fixed out in terms of team chemistry.
Yeah,
once they get that fixed, they should be on their way.
And they still have Bogdanovich is still hurt, I think.
Yeah.
So like they got a lot of pieces sitting around.
Toronto 8 seed.
I was gonna say Toronto has fought back. They looked like they were gonna be in the dumps.
The point guard, the man I wanted to lead this team, because I knew he had this in him because of the type of like dude he is.
I definitely doubted Fred VanVleet. I'll be honest.
I
thought he was gonna be good.
After what he did in those finals, that's all I needed to see.
Yeah.
I knew he has the dog in him.
Yeah.
And he's proven it. Like he's really the only reason this team is staying afloat right now. Because Pascal Siakam has lost his confidence.
Yeah, he's not looking as good.
He's not the same dude he was last year. Hopefully he can get back.
Yep.
But yeah, and their young pieces are still solid. Chris Boucher still improving.
Yep.
Stanley
Anunoby.
Stanley Johnson has played a lot for this team.
I don't know why. Get him out.
He's played a lot. He's been average.
Yeah,
he's been average.
And then
New York on the edge.
We're going past. We're going long.
Miami will be in the playoff
NBA
picture soon. They've been like slaughtered by injuries this first part of the season.
Can we talk about New York though for a minute? I think
that head coach, man,
they're a solid team.
They are.
I think a lot of people overlook Julius Randle. He's a guy that I thought going into the season was going to have a big year just because he's their guy. Like
having Tibbs has improved him and everybody on that team.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what the transition was going to be like with Thibodeau bringing in that hard, like old style of coaching. Yeah. But it seems that he's tailored his style to mix with this like young generation. They're like a top 5 defensive team.
Yeah.
They didn't play defense at all like the past 5 years.
Right.
Now they're playing great defense. Emmanuel Quickley
looked good.
One of the most surprising rookies in the NBA.
Yep.
Oh, we passed Boston. Peyton Pritchard, them two are the draft steals to me.
Yeah.
They've been playing really good. And Austin Rivers.
Yeah.
Having high school flashbacks.
He's another player I
Listen,
can't
man,
stand. I don't know why.
That game when he scored like 15 straight in the fourth, and he had like 20 something in the first. He's in his bag, Joey. You can't be mad at a man trying to get in his bag.
I guess
that's a new quote. You can't be mad at the man getting in his bag. He's doing what he has to do.
Yeah. Like you said, Miami. I can't imagine them not getting back into the playoffs. Jimmy Butler was out for a while.
It was basically like Bam and Duncan Robinson for like a 2-week span.
Yeah, but they're getting their guys back, and they should be fine. Cleveland, they've been a weird team too. They've been in some games.
They have made incredibly positive steps. And their future, that Jared Allen trade was almost, I'm afraid to say it because it's the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
That was almost a genius trade.
Yeah. Well,
like
it's genius because now they can move on from Andre Drummond.
They have their future.
Yeah.
Garland and Sexton look like it's going to work.
Yeah.
Sexton might be an all-star soon.
Jared Allen, really good.
Jared Allen, we know how good he is. Isaac Okoro has showed signs. Like, it's looking good in Cleveland for the future.
Chicago, on the other hand, not so good. A lot of their young guys are just not coming back.
Well,
Zach LaVine has been playing good.
Lauri Markkanen has been playing really well. He just got injured, which sucks.
Yeah.
Lauri was making a comeback.
Yeah.
Zach LaVine, he's been balling.
And now he's on the trade block.
It's so weird. It seems like his numbers are like useless.
Yeah.
But he plays so good. He shoots like almost 50 from the field, high 30s from 3. Like,
Yeah.
Milwaukee needs like a dude like him.
Mm-hmm.
They really need they need an extra punch.
Yeah. So Chicago's just kind of out in no man's land.
Yeah.
Orlando, similar. A lot of their young, like Aaron Gordon's getting hurt.
They're falling apart.
Yeah.
And Vucevic still doing his thing. Our
He
boy
is.
Vooch.
He's having another career
Most underrated
year here.
player of this generation.
Yeah.
Still, he just does his thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Aaron Gordon, after like 1 year of showing that like high level potential in the dunk contest,
Yeah.
he's back to just being regular Aaron Gordon.
Yeah. Now he can't stay healthy now.
They won't play your boy, Mo Bamba.
I know.
They just won't play him.
Yeah. It's weird, and I know that he's probably been struggling with development and stuff, but the only way to
You have
develop
to-
is to get him on the floor.
Like they've said like we're playing the lineups that lead to us winning, like the best chances of us winning.
Yeah.
Playing Kim Birch over Mo Bamba isn't gonna get you the most win. Kim
Yeah.
Birch is a solid backup, but come on now.
They're 9-16, and they've lost. They're 2-8 in their last
You-
10 games.
They're looking very Orlando-ish right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not investing in the pick they made
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And they're playing Cole Anthony because of injuries. So, I mean, why not just go with a super young lineup and see what happens? We already touched on Washington. They're a disaster. And then Detroit, they're doing it.
Great tank.
They're doing what they're
Now
doing.
on to the West.
The West, once again, is crazy.
Utah.
Utah is leading the West. Now,
Listen,
if you would have said that at the beginning of the season, I would have said you were crazy.
in the playoffs, we knew not having Bogdanovich was the thing that was holding them back. And Mike Conley was just getting back after him having a kid.
Yeah.
Mike Conley is throwing lobs now. He never did that in Memphis, so he had to get used to that.
Yeah.
In Utah, he's back on being Mike Conley. Bogdanovich is back. Everybody is playing like at their best level right now,
Yep.
including Gobert, who I still think is completely overpaid, but
But he
can't
likes
be
on the
mad
middle.
when he's playing great.
And then Donovan Mitchell is
He's
just
embarrassing people.
Donovan Mitchell's got another year under his belt, and he's turning into a superstar.
He's making people fall every game. He's like it's like the game has slowed down for him. He's still at full speed, and everybody just doesn't know what to do when when they're in front of him.
Yeah.
He's at another level right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. And then, of course, you got the two LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers, one after another. They're supposed to be there.
Yeah, we expect that to be the Western Conference Finals most likely.
Mm-hmm. But in fourth place, I was a year off from this pick. A year
We're
off.
like two.
Uh,
We're like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was on with my Sacramento pick. Let's not forget.
The Phoenix Suns are sitting in fourth. I knew that the Chris Paul addition was only going to be good.
Took a minute, but
Yeah.
they're getting to it now.
But I did not see them being up at the fourth seed like they are right now. And Devin Booker's just starting to get going because he kind of struggled at the beginning of the season. His assist numbers were down, which was kind of like how they started winning in the bubble and stuff. Those are slowly starting to ramp back up again. So I think they're even going to be a little bit better as this goes on.
Yeah. Some of the biggest reasons why they've been so good so far. First of all, how about that hit on the Cam Johnson pick? It's actually working out. Like, he's showing athleticism.
I tried to tell you
the
guys.
jumper is still there.
Try to tell you guys. Cam Johnson.
I knew he was the best shooter in the draft, but I didn't think he had much more.
Yeah.
He's showing much more. And Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
Lockdown on defense, knockdown shooter.
Mm-hmm.
The Philadelphia 76ers made one of the worst draft night trades in history. I don't think I'm understating. He would literally he might be, if you put him on that team
Yeah.
where he was supposed to be before they traded him for Zaire Smith,
Mm-hmm.
they'd probably be a finals contender right now. Like, legit, they could make the finals
Yeah.
if they had him.
And don't forget about DeAndre Ayton.
Playing is just he's under the radar.
Yeah.
People forget he was the number one pick.
I was going to say, he hasn't lived up necessarily to his expectations, but he's been really good.
He was 20-10 his first year,
Mhm.
but they were bad, so nobody cared.
Right.
Now he's not 20-10, but the team is better and he's still playing good.
Yep.
So
And then coming up behind them, you got Portland.
Dame Lillard, man.
Portland is, it's Damian Lillard right now. CJ McCollum's going to be out for
Actually,
a few more weeks still.
Carmelo is getting in his bag a little bit
He's
right now.
he's been playing pretty good lately.
He had 23 last night.
Yeah.
Highest he's had in like 3 years.
It's unfortunate for Portland though too because CJ McCollum, before he got hurt, was having a season. He was having one of his
27 a game.
best seasons. So when he gets healthy, if he comes back the way that he was playing, Portland's going to be very dangerous.
Also, Yusuf Nurkic seems he just can't stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Can't stay. He's so good when he's healthy.
But getting Enes Kanter on that team again, that was a good move to
Yeah.
have a backup just in case. And then San Antonio, they just figure it out.
It does. Their roster doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
You got older DeMar DeRozan and old LaMarcus Aldridge and
And
old
Aldridge-
Patty Mills.
And Aldridge has been bad. He's been nowhere near. Like, he's been a guy
he's
that's
only played a few games.
He's
but yeah.
even as he's aged, he's been able to stay steady, being like almost a 20-10 kind of guy. He's looked not good.
Rudy Gay is pretty much just like a veteran voice now.
Mm-hmm.
He's okay, but
DeMar DeRozan is still DeMar
I honestly
DeRozan.
didn't think that. What's the point guard's name? Number 5.
Deontay Murray.
I didn't think he was going to get much better, and he's
Yeah.
he's
Well,
getting
he's
better.
had some injury issues, so it was kind of like this was his time to maybe do a bounce back, and
He's-
he's pulled it off.
He's looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
My man, Keldon Johnson.
That was
They have hit so hard on that pick
Mhm.
because a guy that can get you 20 and 10 with no threes,
Yeah.
that's my type of dude. just a dude, just the toughness. He is going to drive in the paint. He doesn't care how he lands. He doesn't care where he flies. He is getting to the basket. And he's either going to get fouled or he's going to score.
Yeah.
And most of the times he ends up getting a bucket.
Right.
Like, I love the way Keldon Johnson plays, and he's a tenacious defender too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're a weird team, but it's been
They-
working.
They definitely are. And then you got Denver, which is they're in kind of a weird spot because Jokic is like
Yeah.
looking like an MVP actually.
He's playing insane
Yeah.
basketball. Yeah.
For a while at the beginning of the season, he was averaging a triple double. Michael Porter Jr. had been hurt for a little bit. He's kind of coming back.
Jamal
So-
Murray fell down to earth too.
Yeah, Jamal Murray is not looking like bubble Jamal Murray, which we were a
That
little
bubble made a lot of dudes.
bit we were a little bit afraid of that might happen, and so far it has. But I still expect Denver is going to be another one of those teams similar to the Heat, where I feel like they're going to bounce up a little bit and make some moves. Golden State,
Steph.
they're in it.
You-
I thought
Can you
this
believe
team.
people that were doubt? Okay,
I don't know.
doubted Steph, Joey.
Well, I can't
People
believe
doubted Stephen Curry.
you take Andrew Wiggins. I know he hasn't been LeBron James like they thought he might, but he was a number one. And then they got Kelly Oubre, who balled out last season.
He's getting on track now,
And
yeah.
he's just starting to get rolling. Draymond Green, he keeps
He's doing
progressing,
Draymond things,
but he's still he's being him.
as a scorer, it's even worse than it was.
yeah.
And as a playmaker, he's losing some of his juice because he's getting older.
Yeah.
But he still does Draymond things,
Mhm.
and they hit on James Wiseman.
Yeah.
He's extremely young and has to keep learning the game.
Yeah.
But the signs he shows, man,
And then, like you said, Steph Curry proving once again to stop doubting
shut
this
up,
man.
shut up.
I get that he's not LeBron, he's not Kobe, he's not MJ. Like that's not his style. But man, he can score. And he's so crafty.
He
and
just put 57 on the Mavericks a few nights ago.
I don't know. He's up there and
So he's
the greatest.
He's probably my favorite player to watch like this past decade.
Yeah.
Like what it's
I don't know how he
it's
can't
incredible.
be.
It's incredible watching him play basketball.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Here's a couple of our picks. Sacramento, just outside the playoffs.
Halliburton,
New Orleans,
Potential
just
rookie of
outside
the
the
year.
playoffs. Yeah, Halliburton was
what he's done. He's honestly one of the main reasons why they're winning games.
Mm-hmm.
Off the bench too.
Yep.
They're just now starting to start him, but he plays like a veteran.
And Harrison Barnes,
Playing
actually back to form.
best year so far.
Yeah.
He's shooting almost 40 from 3.
We haven't seen Harrison Barnes play well in a while.
I think Buddy Hield is still angry,
Yeah.
so his numbers are down.
Mhm.
But De'Aaron,
But he's had some good games here and there,
De'Aaron is playing like an all-star. Marvin Bagley's dad wants him gone.
which is fine.
That's a story.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Leave. They got Rashawn Holmes.
He plays better. They play better with Rashawn Holmes in the game,
Mhm.
which is kind of sad. I
Yeah.
still think Marvin could be good, but his time there might be done.
Yeah. And then my team, New Orleans Pelicans. They got the Stan Van Gundy treatment.
That might be the best way to describe it.
And it's not looked good. I thought the hiring of Stan Van Gundy was fine because he's not in the president role.
I thought because of the team, I thought it was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird fit, but I thought, a veteran coach, how bad could it be? Well, so far, it hasn't been terrible, but they have definitely been underperforming.
It started pretty bad. Now they're getting somewhat playing good.
Yeah, you got Zion having a good year. Brandon Ingram regressed a little bit, but he had a crazy year last year. There's talks about Lonzo Ball being traded. I don't know. There's just a lot of question marks for this team, and there really shouldn't be. They got Steven Adams now. Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Bledsoe at the 2 was always weird to me.
Yeah.
And I really didn't think it would ever just pop off.
Yeah. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been a really good draft pick. I think Jackson Hayes still has room to grow. But
their bench players, Josh Hart plays well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're still there.
It's not clicking.
Yeah, it hasn't fully come together yet, and I'm not sure. I feel like maybe moving Lonzo might actually work. I don't mind him on the team, but
he's played a lot better than he did the first week of the season.
Yeah,
when it wasn't looking good.
Mm-hmm.
But he's up to 37% from 3. He's been more aggressive. He's been solid.
Yeah, and then we got a whole slew of teams that
the next team is my favorite young team in the league, Memphis.
The Grizzlies. Yeah, they got one of the most exciting young players, John Morant.
They drafted Desmond Bane, and he's the 3-point leader right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Seth Curry, he hasn't played,
Yeah.
So he hasn't really counted. But Desmond Bane is at 47% for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Tillman, seamless transition.
Yeah.
Seamless transition.
And that kind of makes sense, though, because, that's just his style. It's just beating and banging in the paint. And it works out.
Brandon Clark. Grayson Allen, when he's healthy, is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Slow-mo, my guy. You don't like him. But you can't deny he is a good player. And slow-mo. He makes plays, man.
I guess.
I love the fact that he can just be so good, but doesn't move fast one bit. And
then you got a whole slew of teams that are what we thought might be potential playoff teams, maybe not. Houston, Dallas, and OKC. Houston, I
think Steven Silas deserves a bunch of credit for what he's done for this team.
Mm-hmm.
Once James Harden left, they became a better team.
Yeah. And I think they still have room to grow. They could find themselves moving into the playoffs or something because they have talent. John Wall looks healthy. He looks like he's been playing pretty good. Eric Gordon has played well.
You haven't even brought up Christian Wood yet. I'm so surprised.
I try to avoid it. DeMarcus Cousins.
Have you seen Jayshawn Tate?
Mm-mm.
You need to watch the Rockets. I feel like he's going to become one of your new favorite players.
Oh, boy.
Out of Ohio State, played in Australia for his first 3 years. He's like a less athletic Zion.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'5", 240, and just bullies his way to the rim. He plays lockdown defense, and he can hit threes. Yeah, super tough.
And then we got Dallas. Dallas is disappointing. Now Porzingis is just kind of getting healthy, starting to get going, but they've still been a disappointment. Luka hasn't been as consistent, I think, is more of it. Yeah, he's had his moments where he's looked really, really good. It just seems like he hasn't been as consistent.
I think people are just now realizing he's still a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This may be his 3rd year, but he still doesn't know how to be a real professional yet.
Yeah.
Because he's a basketball prodigy, he just shows up,
mm-hmm.
and he's that good.
Yeah, and they're still missing one piece, I think. They got Luka, they got Kristaps, but then they got a bunch of guys that, they work well with the team, but they're not that third option. You got Dwight Powell, you got Tim Hardaway Jr., even Trey Burke, again, has been playing pretty good. But they're just missing that. Even Josh Richardson.
He hasn't lived it yet.
He hasn't been
He's regressed a little.
as good. Yeah. So
they expected him to be a lot better.
Yeah, some of the moves that they've made haven't really panned out entirely well.
Maxi Kleber is one of the best shooters in the NBA right now. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
How about that?
And then there's OKC, which I feel like they're still on the cusp of being able to be something. Pretty soon.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think that we could just leave it at that.
Yeah.
OKC knows exactly what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Shouts out to my boy Lou Dort.
Shea
That's my man.
Gilgeous-Alexander.
He's
still
a
going good.
star.
Darius
He's a
Baisley
star.
playing really well, actually.
Yeah.
One thing I will mention, too, real quick about the Rockets, don't forget they have a lot of draft picks coming up pretty soon here. They'll be back in it pretty soon. And then the bottom of the barrel of the West, like we said, Minnesota.
Awful.
What a terrible franchise they are. Why do we keep saying this every year?
It is.
There are literally YouTube videos talking about how terrible the Minnesota Timberwolves are as a franchise. Just talking about their drafting over the last 15 years.
You know how they've been talking about expansion lately?
Yeah.
Adding like maybe Seattle and Vegas teams.
Move the Timberwolves.
Move Timberwolves to the East, man. Just move them to the East.
That's what a lot of
Give
people
them more of a chance.
That's something you bring up. That is something I've heard a lot of people say is
it would make sense if they were in the East.
I've heard people say add Seattle and Las Vegas, make it a 32-team league, move Minnesota over to the East.
Move them to the East.
Doesn't sound like a bad idea.
They become the new Charlotte. They just be stuck in the middle in the East instead of being terrible.
Maybe. I don't know.
The 35 win Timberwolves are better than like the 25 win Timberwolves.
D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, Malik Beasley is balling out again. He doesn't have to serve his jail sentence till the end of the year. He can play.
Anthony Edwards is taking his spot soon, so it doesn't even matter. Beasley's going to be gone.
That's another guy. Like, they have 4 really good players.
They have enough.
That's more than the Pistons have.
They have enough talent to be a good team.
It doesn't make sense. On paper, I feel like on paper, they're better than OKC.
Them and the Wizards, who's worse?
They have to be.
Them two by far are the worst.
Minnesota has to be because they have the most talent. Man.
And the problem is, with Karl Anthony Towns, they were still this bad.
Mm-hmm.
And when he comes back, they will still be this bad.
And then even like Naz Reid has played pretty good for them at times.
Yeah.
They've had some good young guys.
My boy Juancho Hernan Gomez has played fantastic. My guy.
That's true, though. He has.
Yes.
Like, I don't understand.
Minnesota is, I don't know what it is about that organization. They can't get it right.
I thought Jarrett Culver was a good pick.
I think he needs to get traded. He's gonna get lost in the shuffle.
Jared Vanderbilt, like, he's played pretty good at times.
He's a big question. He's just like 6'9" athletic.
Yeah, but they all have flashes.
They have more talent than the Pistons. They have more talent, but they're a worse team.
I don't get it. Minnesota, worst franchise possibly in sports.
Nah.
Timberwolves.
Lions are worse.
Well, that's obvious. But they're getting there.
Yeah.
All right. We've caught up on pretty much all of sports throughout these past few months.
Oh.
Hopefully, we're going to get back to some regular talk. We can go in depth.
Hopefully.
We can get back in depth of actual games and specific topics and not just have to do one big overhaul. But I'm excited because I've been, watching more NBA as the season goes on. This will get me back into college basketball since Michigan was all I was watching, and they've been on a hiatus.
NFL draft stuff coming. More trades coming.
Yeah, the NFL has a lot of moving parts, like we said, so that's going to be really fun.
I think they said the combine is going to be like just pro days, and they're going to like have cameras at each. It's going to be weird, but yeah.
Yeah. And then just all the young talent, I feel like, just almost in all the sports. Like, I feel like it's even higher than normal. Like, what we saw in the NFL, what we're seeing in the NBA with now Zion and John Morant and LaMelo, all these guys. Every time, and I brought this up before, every time that I think we're going to lose like a generation of talent, especially take the NFL, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, even to an extent.
New ones always pop up.
You keep thinking that, okay, they're gone. Who's going to replace them? There's no way anybody can replace them. Yeah. And not to say that they're going to outright replace them, but you got Patrick Mahomes now, Justin Herbert showing up. We got Trevor Lawrence with big expectations. I don't know. And then the NBA, it's like the same thing. Donovan Mitchell is becoming crazy. Jason Tatum. And we're going to lose guys like LeBron, Kevin Durant, even to a certain extent at some point. Like, that's crazy to think about. And we got just as much talent coming back. So I'm excited. We're going to hit it. Hopefully, we're going to be back every week. We have to. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited to talk sports. This has been Views from the Sidelines. We'll see you guys next time.
The Pistons are possibly doing the best tank job in NBA history over the process. And I will tell more next week.